prayer, meditation, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and honors to the Texas flag. Please join me. I'm sorry, meditation. I just got back, sorry. Been a long day. Whew, Jesus. Please join me in honors to the U.S. flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you all for joining us, and forgive me for my slip. Literally just ill-prepared today. I apologize for that. We are going to start off with a board workshop. O'Connell Robertson, Jared is here, and Curtis here, and we're going to talk about our 2017 bond and construction projects update. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing great. How are you doing
Awesome.
this evening? Well, thank you very much for having us here tonight. As usual, we'll be able to give you a construction update. I'm going to let Kurt jump in here and give you the big details. So we'll present 3 projects this evening, and hopefully after tonight, with your approval, we'll go down to 2 projects here pretty soon. So with that,
Awesome.
I'll let Kurt jump in.
All right, we're going to start out with the Lake Belton High School. So the last update we kind of had conceptually, we've got work that had happened at the athletic fields. We had a lot of work going on the inside, finishes, painting. We had the asphalt that had been laid from the track. So in the last month, it seems like more progress just, it's a never-ending cycle, and it seems like it's going to be here faster than I know it. So right here in the overall site photo, just kind of looking at everything again, in the top corner, we've got the athletics area, so you can see the asphalt at the football field, and then beyond that we have the baseball and softball field. Currently back there, what they've done is they've actually poured the concrete around the tennis courts to the baseball and softball and the concessions, creating that plaza. So in the bottom left corner photo, you can kind of see how that athletic area is taking shape. And then also around the football stadium, they've got the concrete been poured at the concession building. And so that kind of now ties from the north side of the football stadium all the way down to where the bleachers will be erected in the next month, and continues and goes across to the baseball, softball area. So here's just a couple photos kind of from last time. I kind of updated the photos. So when we looked at it before, we had parts of the outfield fence and the baseball being installed. Now those 2 top photos, you've got the entire outfield fence has been installed. So basically, besides the bleachers at the baseball side and the bleachers at the softball side, those 2 fields are going to be totally complete, minus the turf, which will happen much later in the project. Then at the concession area and coming from the parking lot, they poured all the flat work. So we have on the bottom left corner, the flat work going in front of the concession area. This is the feature area that has some brick pavers that has not been installed yet, but they've got it all set up for the limestone and the brick pavers. And then the bottom right photo is the entrance going from the parking lot into the athletic stadium. So you'll walk down there. To the left, you'll have your baseball. To the right, you've got the tennis courts. And just in front of you is the softball. Inside the building, we've got the auxiliary gym and the competition gym that they've done all the painting. And in these photos, you can believe this one had it. If not, they have actually installed all the backboards and goals posts now for the basketball. So we have all those in both the auxiliary and the competition gym. In the library, we have all the curtain wall around the south side of the facade, and they're beginning to start doing the finishes, getting ready to put all the drywall in and paint it. And then on the first floor is where we're seeing a lot of the finishes going in. So they've already started polishing the concrete. It looks amazing. So the bottom right photo is one of the main common areas on the very bottom of L with the polished floor. We have all the walls in. The big space that you see there in that between those 2 walls is where we have an operable partition that will go in at a later date. And then kind of going back through some of the other finishes in the area, just looking over the dining commons, they've got the fire paint on all the structure there. You can see the curtain wall that's installed on the right side of the photo in the dining commons. And on the left side of that photo, they started framing all the soffits over the main hallway. Then the continuation on the right photo, looking down the main hallway, Almost looks like a complete building minus the polished concrete. They've got all the paint in there. You can see the tile finishes have gone up. The ceiling grid's in there now. And so they're basically going to finish polishing the concrete and come back with the ceiling grid. And that area of L is going to be pretty much complete, which is the very south side of the building. And then on the first floor, they're still working on the ceiling grids, but we have two of the photos of the feature wall, which is this textured tile that's on there. It's a nice tan limestone, and we're going to have actually on those bump outs, it actually goes from the limestone up, and it's a glass wall above it. So you're going to be able to see into the culinary arts as you're walking down the hallway. And then just going around the exterior now, metal panel has started going up on the south side of L and going around the east side. We've got the dark metal panel going along that complements to the brick. And then on the south side of the athletics and the library, they've got that all framed out with the glass. And so they're basically going to start wrapping around and finish the metal panel and the brick and the masonry. And we should have everything wrapped up in that in probably the next 2 months. Any questions on the high school?
What percentage of completion are we at?
I think we're somewhere around 65 to 70.
And so, of course, we're on track for our projected
Yes.
completion date, right?
Yes, we are.
Awesome.
It's just been several weeks, months since we've had a chance to tour. Can we just drop by on our own, or can we plan another little group? It's been a while since we've been there.
Okay, then we'll absolutely put that together. You know, we talked about doing some kind of mini board tours and things. Thank you. Some mini board tours, so we will absolutely do that. Okay.
Sounds good.
Definitely want to make sure you have PPE on and the contractor knows and those kind of things.
Yep, there's plenty of extra gear at the construction trailer, so they're ready for you.
We just need to organize those tours with you all to make sure you all are ready and expecting us, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So on to the Belton Orchestra edition. Previously, we showed you the photos of the front canopy going down. They had poured some of the flat work going into the main entrance, and they've blocked out for the feature area there, which is the Belton B, and then it has a logo that is inset in, I believe it's stainless steel, that'll be inset into the concrete that's being produced. Hopefully that part will be coming up in the next couple weeks. So basically, since then, they've got the entire foundation poured. They've got drilled in the rebar for the CMU. They've done the sidewalks along the main drive going down across the site. And as I was out there today, they've got CMU up to, I want to say on one side of it's about 4 to 6 feet tall. On the other side, they're following it up there. We've got about another 6 weeks of installation of the CMU. Then our structural steel will arrive on site. They'll do that. And so we're hoping that around the beginning of December that we'll have the roof on, and it'll be dried in, and it'll be the exterior masonry going up, the veneer, and then finishing on the inside. Any questions on this project?
What's the estimated completion?
That
For
completion
that?
is July of 2020. Basically, we get through the first phase, everything of the new addition, and then they'll have to come back and do the renovations of the existing tie-in between the two spaces.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions that we
Any
can
other
answer for you?
questions? Nope, we're good. Thank
Thank
you
y'all.
so much, I appreciate you. Okay, it is 5:09, and the board will go into closed session, Texas Government Code subchapters D and E, to discuss personnel, Texas Government Code Section 551.074. We will return as soon as possible. Excuse me, it is 5:52. We reconvene in open session. Excuse our delay. All of our kiddos are not here yet, and we just want to make sure that everyone's here, everyone gets recognized. So if you'll pardon us, we're just going to veer off schedule for just a second. We're going to open up with public comments. Ms. Connie, are there any public comments at this time? Thank you. Then we will move on. We'll come back to recognitions in just a moment. We're going to move on to our consent agenda, and I believe there's 2 items we're going to pull.
Those are items K and item P.
Items K and items P. Okay. Thank you. That being said, is there a motion to approve the agenda, the consent agenda with items K and P being pulled at this time? There's a motion from Mr. Taggart. Is there a second? Ms. Janet Lee. All in favor, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously. Are we ready for recognitions? Josh, we want to go ahead and move on? Okay, well, Josh will get us started. We still have kiddos coming in. Even
evening.
though they're not all here, we'll definitely make
Yes.
sure that they get their certificate. So go ahead and get us.
Yeah, so I'll just go ahead. We have a large list, but I'll go ahead and just read the names, and then the students that are here, we'd love for you to come up and take a photo with our board. So this year, the College Board is honoring 132 Belton ISD high school students as AP Scholars. These awards are given to students for college-level achievement, as demonstrated by their performance on advanced placement exams. The awards are divided into 4 categories: AP Scholars with Honors, AP Scholars with Distinction, and National AP Scholars. The number of these awards earned by Belton ISD students has been steadily increasing, from 109 in 2018 to a total of 132 this year. The following students received scores of 3 or higher on 3 or more AP exams, qualifying them as AP Scholars: Jacob Abernathy. Yes, if our...
Board members, please
Sure.
go down, whoever would. We've got a large group, so.
We do have a large group, so we'd like to invite our board. Roshan Abraham, Bridget Burdine, Eli Cable, Jose Cabrera, L. Corsi. Yes, we do have all of the certificates, so we'll do our best to sort through them. Kara Fish, Emily Freemeyer, Jeffrey Froese, Felice Galliette, Tyler Garrett, Gotham Gamande, Isaac Gish, Donatello Choti, Simon Ho, Austin Kruger, Thea Lancaster, Luke Lastavica, Julia Lee, Gwyneth Mejia. Sure. And we're going to, parents, do this by group, so we'll allow you plenty of time to take photos. Ryan Moger, Brendel O'Bannon, Arian Oja, Brooklyn Pyle, Caroline Rowe, Gwyneth Saxonmeyer, Shannon Snow, Evan Taylor, Luke Thomas, Julia Wagner, Ethan Wong, and Micah Zychek. Now again, this is our group of students who receive scores of 3 or higher on 3 or more AP exams, qualifying them as AP Scholars. So we'll go ahead and give a chance for all of them to come up and
Can we
take
give them a
photos.
hand
Parents, feel
clap?
free to move up.
Awesome. Congratulations. Great job. It's going to be an awesome picture.
Give me just a second.
Parents, make sure you get all the photos you want. Y'all stand there and smile pretty. We good? One more coming.
All right, thanks very much. And just a note to parents, as well as the photos you're taking, we always post on social media a few days before, and you can always find our recognitions photos for every board meeting at bisd.net/photos, and you can find the photos that my colleague Becca was taking. So our next group, these students received an average score of at least 3.25 on all AP exams taken, and scores of 3 or higher on 4 or more of these exams, qualifying them as AP scholars with honor. First, we have Sylvia Asuncion Crab. Colton Baird. Drew Biva. Nicholas Sapola. Miranda Divala. Molly Feldner. Francesca Higgins. Alexis Ibarra. Jabar Nino Ibarra. Tyler McDonald. Angela Medina. Micah Page. Denny Rockwood. And Ethan Taylor. Congratulations to these students who scored an average of at least 3.25 on all AP exams taken, scores of 3 or higher on 4 or more of these exams, qualifying them again as AP scholars with honor. Congratulations, y'all. Our next group of students received an average score of at least 3.5 on all AP exams taken, and scores of 3 or higher on 5 or more of these exams, qualifying them as AP scholars with distinction. Tonight, joining us is Doy Baker, Dean Biva, Joshua Bledsoe, Grace Fothergill, Gabriella Hansen, Emma Kate Howard, Sydney Hunt, Jonah Jimenez, Alexis Kerr, Elizabeth Moctezuma Manzanaro, Kyra Moore, Dinithi Navrathna, Emily Olson, Jamie Pearson, Gayatri Dev Thirunavkuros, Patrick Tossi, Kobe Trovinger, and Uni Wu. Congratulations again to these students who received an average score of at least 3.5 on all AP exams taken, scores of 3 or higher on 5 or more of these exams, qualifying them as AP scholars with distinction.
Congratulations.
Can you film all?
And it's important to note that there were 7 students that achieved national AP scholars for receiving an average score of at least 4 on all AP exams taken, scores of 4 or higher on 8 or more of these exams. However, all of those students graduated last year, so we wish them well in their freshman year of college. Thanks to the students and your families for showing up this evening.
I saw that. I saw we got that together. We have 2 Rotaries, two.
We're going to move on to our Rotary Educators of the Month.
Do you want to? Yes, we can. Just down here. Thank you, guys. Bye. So.
All right. Good evening. We are here and excited to recognize the Temple Rotary Educator of the Month, and we have Krista Furman from High Point Elementary. And Krista, if you would come up, and her assistant principal, Brooke Holt, has joined her this evening. And Ms. Furman is a kindergarten teacher at High Point Elementary, and just a great story of grit and character. She's in her 7th year in education, all with Belton, and she started as a substitute teacher when High Point Elementary opened 7 years ago. And the talents that she demonstrated in this role of patience and kindness and her ability to connect with kids quickly led her to a paraprofessional position. She obtained her teaching certificate and quickly earned a teaching position. She's demonstrated this grit and character and brings these traits into her classroom. She's positive and calm, has a growth mindset, and is always seeking ways to improve her craft for the betterment of kids. And Amy Armstrong, principal, stated, Krista has a unique ability to reach and build a strong relationship with each young kindergartner who enters her classroom. She loves her students and they love her. Krista is one of the most genuine people you will ever meet, and she is truly deserving of this award. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And for our Belton Rotary Educator of the Quarter, we have Sherry Imbler from Sparta Elementary, and her principal, Julie Manley, is joining her. And Sherry is a kindergarten teacher at Sparta in her 24th year in education and 23rd with Belton ISD. Miss Imbler has a heart for our smallest learners and works to make their first experience in the classroom the best. She strives to make learning fun, bringing laughter and humor into her classroom. Students in Miss Imbler's classroom participate in hands-on activities and have rich academic experiences. Her students learn to love to write, and they share their writing with one another, with families, their peers, and staff. Julie Manley, principal, stated, Sherry has a passion for literacy and believes every student is a reader and writer, regardless of their ability or age. She never seeks recognition and is always a team player, and it is my pleasure to recommend her for this honor. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Okay. You're up next.
Later this month, more than 100 families in Belton ISD will be connected. That connection, provided through the national partnership called Bridging the Gap, comes from each family receiving a computer, 3 months of internet service, and digital literacy materials. This opportunity has brought together many individuals and organizations, but it is the Ralph Wilson Youth Club that stepped forward to host and store the supplies necessary to ensure a successful distribution day on Saturday, September 28th. Beyond opening their doors to host this special event, the Ralph Wilson Youth Club touches many of our students and their families through their social, educational, and recreational youth services programs. For their continued service to our community and support of our Belton ISD students and families, the Ralph Wilson Youth Club is this month's Big Red Community Partner, and accepting this award is Executive Director Brett Williams. Thanks. Thanks again, and that'll do it for
Thank you
recognition.
and congratulations. I love the fact that we recognize outstanding accomplishments of our students and our staff. We're real special in that way, and I'm just so thankful and grateful that we do that. The next item on our agenda is the superintendent's report, and I'll turn that over to Dr. Battershell.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Robin Battershell. I'm your interim superintendent. It's a pleasure to be here. On the superintendent's report, I've highlighted the areas of interest to you. Again, I've enjoyed my visits with each of you and with each of our staff members. We have a meet and greet breakfast this coming Wednesday at the central office that board members, I invite you to come, or breakfast tacos. Board tours, which you talked a little bit tonight with Ty. And so we will set up something for the Lake Belton High School for you to see. Underneath finance and operations, capital improvements list. This has been a list that's been out there for a while. And so we are visiting this week, Dr. Muller and myself and staff, and starting to prioritize that. And again, board, if you approve the committee structure tonight, then facilities committee, then you'll be working through that capital improvements list. There's 3 ways that can be utilized. First one is for remaining bond funds from the 2017 bond. You can use those funds for it. You can use maintenance operations funds if you have a surplus in maintenance and operations, and with the state funding change this year, there are some of those. And then you can also look at the larger items for future bonds. So you have kind of 3 areas. We will do walkthroughs for all of our campuses within the next 2 weeks, and so that list, we will expand that list and hopefully bring you a comprehensive list. For Charter Oak auditors, October the 28th through November the 8th, I want to thank our finance department. They've done such a good job that instead of a 3-week visit, it's going to be a 2-week visit. So Jennifer Land, thank you so much. Great job to you. Charter Oak dedication is coming up on September the 24th, and Elizabeth Snow and her crew have been working diligently on that. I thank Elizabeth for that. JROTC classes, little did I know, but you apply for those, and hopefully they grace you with those, but it may take a while, but we are in the process of that for the new Lake Belton High School. Transfer meetings and open houses, again, thanks to Mike Morgan. Mike, where are you at? I want to thank you. You did a great job of answering questions. Jill was there. We had a lot of the administrators there from the high schools, and you all did a wonderful job of addressing the parents' concerns and needs. And what I really appreciate is you answered the questions that you could, and there's always going to be questions that you just don't know yet. And you said, I don't know. And that's the most honest answer sometimes that you can give, and then you come back and you find those answers. So thank you very, very much for that. Vaping workshop, it happened at the high school during their open house. It went very, very well. Elizabeth, again, thank you for coordinating that and being there for that. Class size waivers, I'm real pleased to say that there's only 16 classes across our elementary schools this year that will be requesting class size waivers. Again, Mike, your department did a really good job of doing that. Human Resources Leadership Cohort will be selected this fall. Belton ISD does that about every 2 years, and so we're hoping for some good candidates that are being referred to that. And there will be levels of leadership for leadership into principal positions, and then also people that want to move into teaching positions with UMHB, and more information to come on that one. And then the Big Red Heart Awards are coming soon. The application form is out there, so please go online and look for that. And again, it's just an absolute pleasure to be with you here this evening, and hopefully that I can serve you well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a quick
Oh,
question
yes.
on, so the committees, serving on the committees.
Yes, ma'am.
When are you looking to start? Something
Like now. We have items that, we're ready now. So if you approve that tonight, then I'll be asking you who wishes to serve on what. I've already heard from some of you on that. And literally tomorrow morning, feet on the ground, we'll start working with those committees on what your time schedules will allow. Chris, I know that your time is really limited. So again, we set up committees based upon your schedule. One other thing, though, at your spots, there is a calendar that looks like this, if you will look under your stack of things. We have pared down your list of events for the month to the items that we feel like really need to have board representation, or things that you'd be very interested in, and even beyond that, we have highlighted those ones that we think are super important for you. So if you can make it and you are interested in that, then we do ask that you consider that and put that on your calendars. And that was a request coming out of some of your individual meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions from the board regarding those items? No? We'll move on to Human Resources, and Todd will talk about employment of administrative employees.
Good evening. Tonight I have an honor to recommend Seth Edwards for Assistant Principal at North Belton Middle School. And Seth comes to us with 2 degrees from UMHB, a bachelor's degree and a master's degree from UMHB, 10 years in education, and comes to us from Belton ISD with math certification, 4 through 8, and served over there as a teacher and a facilitator, and we are excited to be working with him and look forward to it.
Yes, now that you've been welcomed, we can do the official thing and vote on you, huh? At this time, is there a recommendation or motion to approve as provided by the administration? Is there a motion? Chris Floor. Is there a second? Dr. Rosie Montgomery. And all in favor, please raise your hand. Welcome aboard. You're hired. Glad you're here. Next item on our agenda is to talk about superintendent search firms. We deliberated, we just didn't get there tonight. We are going to ensure that we do our due diligence, and we want to make sure we explore all options. So we're going to look at some additional firms. We're going to interview next week on Monday, the 23rd, I believe is the date. That will be posted soon, but that's where we are. We'll be taking no action on search firms this evening. Bless you. Next item on our agenda, review and discuss career and technical education. Stephanie Ferguson, come on down.
President Jordan, members of the board, Superintendent Battershell, thank you for the opportunity tonight to look over our BISD CTE program. We're going to talk a little bit about CCMR and then also about kind of a holistic view of what our department is about. A couple of years ago, when I came here, we created a mission statement for our department. And really the crux of what we do is we're looking at challenging, preparing, and empowering our students. This is a circle approach to give you a graphic of what our department is about. And so we overlay with career development, our program of study, and our partnerships with the inner workings of academic and technical skills, our work-based learning program, as well as our CTSOs, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Our core focus for this year are 7 blocks, and those blocks are equal in partnership. So those blocks will move around in importance with the ebb and the flow of the work. But as you can see, career pathways and our programs of study, and we'll talk briefly about some of the changes at the state level. Curriculum integration, our dual enrollment and what we can do to enhance that. Our retention and completion, we want kids to come in, study in our program, stay, and then graduate. Our accountability and assessment, which is that CCMR piece. Our career guidance and counseling, working with our 8th grade counselors to enhance the delivery of information before students leave middle school, and then, of course, our industry-recognized credentials. And so as part of our mission, we're wanting to provide students with the academic, technical skills and knowledge that they will need for their future careers. Kind of at a glimpse, we have 37 teachers in our department, and those teachers are positioned at Belton High School as well as Belton New Tech, and they are working on creating those authentic learning experiences for our students. As a whole, there are over 12 million students in the nation that are connected with CTE, either at a high school level, also at a college level. Here in Belton, we have more than 2,800 students on the campuses at the high school as well as New Tech who are engaged in some sort of CTE course through our pathways. And so I know a question has come up about our coherent sequence takers. And so the way the state identifies a coherent sequence taker right now is that they are taking 2 or more courses for 3 or more credits. And of course, that's changing a little bit with the fall of 2020. TEA is releasing their new pathways, and so they're going to be calling them different things. But for right now, as we code our students, we are focused on creating coherent sequence takers within our pathways. This is just a quick glimpse of our department as a whole. Our largest pathway is the health science pathway. Our second largest is arts and AV. That's our Tiger Media. That's our students involved in photography, video, audio production. And then our ag is our 3rd largest pathway, and law public safety is our 4th. And then as you can see, it drops down with our hospitality. I have a number of students in that. Those are students that are connected with our culinary arts program, and our IT, human services, STEM, finance, architecture, construction, business marketing, transportation, education, and manufacturing. And so to kind of give you a glimpse of what we're talking about, we took a look at our recent graduates of 2019. There were 852 graduates, and 445 of those students actually graduated with a CTE coherent sequence. The student here, she was involved in Tiger Media as well as health science. And so students can build into coherent sequences. It's tough to do because many of our courses also are double blocked, but it is possible. And so out of those 852 graduates, like I said, we had the 445 that were coherent sequence takers, but then we had over 200 kids that what I call, they kind of pop into the program and pop back out, and those are students that may be taking a floral design class for a fine art credit. They may have tried a principles class in one of the 15 pathways, may have decided it wasn't for them, or they may also, we have students that sample throughout the different pathways, and so they aren't considered coherent sequence takers, but they do have the opportunity to sample. And so the role of CCMR, of course, you know all of the different requirements and all the different ways a student can earn a point towards CCMR. I just wanted you to show you that with CTE, they can earn a point if they earn an industry-based certification, if they are tied to that coursework that's aligned to an IBC. Of course, that's going away after this year. And then also a level 1 or 2 certificate. Those are also hard because they have to be tied to post-secondary partnerships. And so this is just an idea of the industry-based certifications that we're currently offering this year. These are ways that students can earn a point on CCMR, and so it's everything. It kind of starts with our Adobe complement. You see all of your health science certifications on there, like phlebotomy, pharmacy tech, CCMA, our medical assistant program. We're in our second year with that, and we're seeing a lot of good success with that because there's a high need for that. You'll also see your ASE, your transportation auto tech certifications are on there, as well as some of our computer science with the Microsoft and the and also the QuickBooks and Autodesk. That's the one I was looking for. That's for our engineering students that we implemented last year. I also wanted to point out that we do have opportunities for students to earn certifications that are not on the list. We feel that those are important because our industry partners tell us that they are. And so as you can see, there are some health science certifications on there, as well as our OSHA, and then also some auto tech, as well as my favorite, forklift. That's the one that always makes me nervous, but they tell me not to worry about it. And they do a great job with that. I did want to point out, too, the one about the international code. Craig Sullivan, who is amazing, tried really hard. He went and got nationally certified in the international code because we believe it's important for our construction students to know how to read code. And so it's a hard test, but our kids are getting that certification each year, but the state will not recognize that as an IBC. The course is aligned to the certifications. Of course, like I said, this is going away after this year. We offered 14 last year and 19 this year for that 1/2 point. CTSOs, I don't think there's a better way for a student to gain and earn some leadership qualities. It stands for CTSO, our Career and Technical Student Organizations. We're connected to, all of these are national ones, BPA, FCCLA, FEA, HOSA, FFA, and Skills USA. Our two largest ones are FFA and Skills USA, but great opportunities for students to compete and work on their leadership skills. We had almost 300 students last year that competed at the district, regional, area, state, and national competitions. Out of those, we had 70 that advanced to state competition, and we had 5 that actually advanced to nationals. And then, as you know, Peter Morris actually placed at nationals last year at Skills USA. Our business partners, we couldn't do it without them. We have an advisory board. The Perkins Grant requires districts to meet at least twice with their business advisory group. We extend that to meet quarterly. We've just set our dates for this year. We have our first meeting coming up in October. We have more than, like I said, 50 representatives, and we continue to add and want to add. We want to get as many of our industry and business partners involved with that. And this was another example. Recently talked to the Rotary Club, and they were asking, what can we do to get involved? And so we said we like to connect our business and industry partners to, of course, our internships and our practicums, as well as guest speakers. They also come in and help us prepare for CTSO competition, mock interviews. We want them to review our curriculum. While it is state curriculum, we also want to know that there are some connections to what we're teaching that will help them in a post-secondary world. And then also membership in our advisory council, and they also help with judging, and then, of course, our mentorship. Just real quickly, Perkins 5 is, the Perkins Grant has been renewed. Perkins 5, there are a number of requirements involved with that. One of those is being a needs assessment. And so our advisory committee is going to be helping us with that, as well as P20. The districts that are involved with P20 will be working together with this needs assessment, but it will include student performance, labor market alignment, programs of study, size, scope, and quality, the recruitment and retention of good teachers, and then improving always equity and access. And so while, and just as a note, beyond CCMR, even though a student may not earn a point or may not earn an industry-based certification, when you look at it holistically and look with the connections that students are making with our industry partners, and getting those experiences, it's helping them walk out the door with a skill. But many of our students go on to a 2-year or 4-year university, but we want all students to walk out with a skill. And this is just a strategic plan that the state has put out. And I put this on here because of they call it the tri-agency approach, where TEA, Texas Workforce Commission, and Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board are now talking to each other on a more regular basis to ensure that there is that communication and ensure that we do have students that are being able to connect to post-secondary world. We do have a Texas Workforce Commission person on our campus at the high school this year who's helping secondary students with that labor market analysis, and it's very popular with the students. And so this is just puzzles that we're trying to put the pieces together every day. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any.
Does the board have any questions?
I got a couple. Yeah. I got to tell you, I'm so impressed with what's going on with CTE. I mean, I've had the opportunity to go out and see several of the programs in action, and I almost think for a minute if I could go back in time, I'd do it all over again, but that's not happening.
Do over.
I mean, there's a lot of great stuff going on, and so, hats off, applaud all the folks in CTE for what's going on. What I'm trying to figure out is how do we do even more, right? And so, where are some of the programs that we've got capacity, right, where we could take in new students today without necessarily stressing, the facilities and things like that? Like, are there programs that we have better capacity right now to kind of suck people in, and how do we do that?
Right, and that's a good question. And if I were to go back in that one slide where it talks about the different pathways that we have, when you look at architecture and construction and you see that number there, when you're talking about capacity, you're exactly right. With equipment, and then also we have to keep those ratios low because of safety concerns. And so we also see that in welding, the construction. But capacity-wise, in some of those programs like STEM and IT is an area that we're in particular wanting to grow because, especially when you're talking about IT, you're talking about lab space and computer lab space. And that's not as much of a demand on the infrastructure as maybe construction in a sheet metal program. And so we're certainly, and when we talked about Texas workforce, we're also wanting to ensure that we have alignment with future job force, not 5 years out, but looking at 10, 15 out. And those are two areas that definitely have that connectivity, and those are areas that it's easier to grow.
And Stephanie, don't you increase your capacity with the advent of Lake Belton High School?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So maybe this is maybe a rhetorical question for the moment, right? But I'd love to hear at some point, like, what do you need from us, right? Is there anything that we can be doing, as a board to help push CTE, right? Whether it's a specific look at facilities or whatever, right? Just to figure out how do we move that forward, right? Because not only does it benefit the students, the students that go through that, but also from a budget standpoint, right? There's some kickers, some extra money we can bring to the table, right? The more students we have going through those coherent sequences, right? So how can we do that? And if there's anything that you want to bring to us and kind of talk to us about, I think we'd love to hear it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's why our advisory committee is also so important, because we want that. We want to hear that from our industry partners and ensuring that we're preparing our students for that. Our teachers, we have an amazing department, and they are lifelong learners, and they participate in summer externships so that they know what's coming. We have some teachers next week that are going to San Antonio to do some Texas workforce training. So I think that, and then through that needs assessment process that Perkins is now requiring us to do, I think that there are going to be some things that evolve out of that in terms of need and in terms of what we will need in the future.
Yeah. Again, thank you so much. So it's going well.
For your advisory, I noticed that on your picture you had Charlie Ayers and A.L. Kaiser, and it looked like Dr. Angel on there. Are those still on there for this year?
They are,
yes.
partners?
Okay.
Yeah, they're still here.
Great
and
partners.
They are great go-to people. And Charlie's done, Mr. Ayers has done a great job. He was part of the kind of the genesis for that SOAR program, which allows a Texas workforce representative to be on our campus and working with our students. So, yeah.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah.
You did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
I've got
Appreciate you.
two.
Did you have another question? Go ahead.
Yeah, being in the flooring industry now for the last 14 years, you know, my guys, there's not a lot of college degrees, you know, with my guys, but they're some of the smartest people in construction. When
Oh,
you're
yeah.
laying tile on walls and wrapping it around,
There's a lot of math in that.
there's a lot of math in that, and I find my guys are always really intelligent. But I don't know what y'all are doing as far as flooring goes, but we have a shortage of really talented tile layers in
Oh,
the
wow.
industry.
Okay.
I'm serious, and I've talked to other floor store owners about this. You know, wood, vinyl plank, carpet, we've that areas are handled. But if y'all could move some kids in that direction, this area really does have a shortage in tile layers.
Oh, wow, that's good to know. I will definitely pass that on.
And then now, are y'all going to integrate a barbecue team into this? Is this underneath your deal? I've heard Sam Vaca or someone came up to me. Are y'all going to do the barbecue team?
We, and so Miss Alcozer, who we talked last year, and we are, and she was super excited. She was all over it. And so I don't know if you know it, but UIL now has a barbecue team competition. And
Really?
we are all over it. And she actually said that you were going to be our business partner.
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I'm in. Sounds great.
That's awesome, yeah. Yeah, we're pretty excited about
I have a
it.
question. Stephanie, you mentioned that someone from the Texas Workforce Commission is on campus.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any idea what the numbers are in terms of students entering the workforce just out of high school?
We're working to try to do a better job of that, because that's a great question, and definitely an area that because we think that, because when you look at kind of backward designing in terms of what it is that students need, because we added a college and career advisor last year, and really her mantra last year was that no kid graduates without a plan. And because it does happen, and so we really are concerned about that, and so we're going to try to do a better job of that. We'll do a better job of trying to track those students as they're leaving, especially our CTE students, in terms of where they're going. We do know that many of them are connecting to a 2-year or 4-year program once they leave, and that industry-based certification certainly helps open the door for them.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any others? Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate that. Next item on our agenda is to discuss our 2019 Advanced Academics and Gifted and Talent Evaluation. We've got Tiffany and Barbara. Well, that doesn't look like
So
Tiffany.
you actually have myself
That-
tonight. Unfortunately, Tiffany is a new director in Belton ISD. She's our director of college and career readiness, and she was faced with a family emergency and unable to come tonight. Before we begin this, though, I would like to just, on the last presentation, state what a stellar job Stephanie does in leading the CTE program. Really does an outstanding job with that. In terms of advanced academics, we have two new people who I also know will do stellar jobs, Tiffany Sommerfeld and then Barbara Epperson, who moved from coordinator of social studies to coordinator of advanced academics. So tonight we want to talk about our advanced academics program, and you saw some piece of that in the recognition of the 132 AP scholars, which is outstanding. Highest academic performers is a district priority for us. It has been for a couple years, and we want to continue the work there. First, we'll talk about our gifted and talented program. We have over 1,000 now 112 students. That was from last year's number, and the final for the year, which represents right at about 9.36% of the population. Of those identified students, as you can see, we've continued to grow over the last couple of years, not only by number, but also by percentage within the district, which reflects true growth. Part of that, and something we'll continue, is the screening of all second grade students at Southwest, Leon Heights, Miller Heights, and Chisholm Trail. We've talked about that before in presentations, that we wanted to specifically target our higher low socioeconomic populations, and so we will continue to screen all second grade students at those grades. In reference to our screening, last year we tested 443 students with 231 qualifying. That's right at about 52%, which is right about where you always want that percentage to be as high as possible. That represents that you're both identifying correctly before you test a student. So we're in that 52% range. Part of the program is GT evaluations, and so we use the Texas Association of Gifted and Talented Evaluation Form. This is a self-evaluation form, so the district rates themselves on their performance, and then campuses also rate themselves. This year, our campuses are in the recognized to exemplary rating, and the district is also exemplary. The way that when that evaluation is made, you ask questions in the areas noted. So in terms of student assessment, you look at questions like, do you continually assess students throughout the year when you believe you've identified them? For service design, you're looking at questions around funding, communication, parent communication. Curriculum talks about what products students are presenting. Professional development are your teachers that are working with students meeting the 6-year annual or 30-year initial training. Family community talks about collaboration opportunities with your communities and your businesses. You answer a series of questions and then you total them. We're proud of our program, and we continue to look to find ways to strengthen it. Also within our program, and coming up next week within advanced academics, are junior scholars. And so on September 24th, we will recognize our next round of junior scholars. Junior scholars are identified in 7th grade based on their 6th grade STAR test. So if they perform in the top 5% for the state, then they are identified as a junior scholar, and they are encouraged to take the SAT test in the 7th grade. Many of whom do very well. This year, we will recognize 115 students from our 3 middle school campuses, and we're very proud of that. It's a great opportunity for parents and students to learn early on about the importance of SAT or ACT and the impact ultimately on college acceptance and, most importantly, scholarships, which is what parents are looking for. Barbara is going to talk with you about our advanced academic opportunities that we're offering at our high schools.
Hi, everybody. So for the advanced academic opportunities, we partner with the same schools we partnered with last year. So Temple College, Mary Hardin Baylor, UT Permian Basin, and then Texas Bioscience Institute. And this year we had more Texas Bioscience students than ever before get inducted and get their coat. And then College Board. So that's another thing we're exploring a little bit more we'll talk about. So at TC, there's 56 courses offered for our students. 23 at UT Permian Basin, and Mary Hardin Baylor has 18. This was a huge deal this year as we funded a lot of our students. So they were able to fund 26 students dual credit, and that was an opportunity that they wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. So that was very, very exciting. And then I know, particularly I've talked to the AVID teachers and how big of a difference they've seen in that. So we're very thankful for what BEEF did. And they are too. Advanced placement. So we had our students tonight that had 3 or higher. And a big deal with our advanced placement scholars, or advanced placement, is that amount of students really increased this year. So we had 132. Last year we had 102. So right there you can see the big increase. I went back and looked at how many scholars there were in 2012 because that was the year I came here and I was curious. And we had 63. So just to put it in perspective, that's a huge jump. So we'll talk about that a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead. I was so excited about that part, I skipped this slide. But overall, our AP scores are making a 3 or higher. We have a lot of total college credits. So we have 1,770 college credits. And the percentage of exams making a 3 or higher is at 61%. And that's important for us for that number to continue to rise. And we've been working a lot with AP teachers on that. So the part I was excited about that I skipped to is our 132 AP scholars. 56 of them that had a 3 or more on 3 exams. A big thing about that, a big misconception in our community is sometimes the 3, House Bill 1992 from a few years ago said that any state school State College has to accept a 3 or higher, which is exciting for our students. It gave more incentive. But when you actually dig deep into some of those colleges and what they actually offer, some of them are offering more than just 3 hours. So we're trying to educate our students and parents on that. Something like a 5 on an AP Spanish exam could give a student as many as 14 to 18 hours, depending on their university of choice. So that's a big thing for us. So the 3 is exciting, but that 3 may represent quite a bit more depending on the exam and the school the student chooses to go to. Another big notice that we had is that we had 45 AP scholars with distinctions. So that's up from 27 last year. So we're very excited that our students are taking a lot of exams, and that's a lot because our students are involved in lots of things, but they do well when they take them. So that was our big, big takeaway from that. And then our last but not least test to talk about, ACT, SAT. So, and again from College Board, the big thing that we took away from this is that when we look at our student scores, they're higher than the state average and they're higher than the national average, and I think they're continuing to increase. So we're excited about that, and we're excited about what that can happen for our students, because that, like Dr. Lessman said, that's the big ticket for the scholarships. So we don't want to just focus on one program or the other. It's looking at it holistically. So with our future endeavors, we definitely want to provide coordinated dual credit delivery at all of our high schools. Lake Belton's coming on board, so making sure that's done well so that all kids can be served. To identify and implement strategies to increase the number of students making a 3 or higher. We want our students that take the exam to have the opportunity to get that college credit and to get those hours. And then the last thing is we're implementing an SAT school day for our juniors in the spring. So those are kind of our big things on the horizon.
I just would like to add, in that work, we are, as Barbara mentioned, we're being very intentional with our AP, our teachers, looking at how students are doing in AP courses, how they're doing from one campus to another. We're talking about the differences that we see there to help make sure that we're providing equitable services in those classrooms. But we want to do 2 things. We want to increase the number of students that take an AP exam. So how many truly feel confident that they can take that. College Board moved the registration up to the beginning of like the fall semester instead of the spring. So we'll make sure we're working there. But then once they commit, that they'll do well. And we want them to at least have like Barbara said, a 3, if not higher, depending on where you go is the score that you need. And then I do want to also add, as Barbara talked about the SAT, that's a big step for us. We have not offered SAT for all students during the school day. We did last year for some, but we really want to use some of the, there's some funding coming out through CCMR that will reimburse you for SAT or TSI exams. It's still questionable how that funding's coming, if it's already wrapped in your foundation allotment or not, but we do want to implement a strong plan to encourage any student who would like to take the test, specifically during their junior year. We will host it on site during the school day, and that should make it easier for students to participate. Do you have questions for us about this program?
Board have any questions or comments? Go ahead.
So if you're not a superintendent scholar and you want to do well on the SAT, but you're not in that group, is there tutoring and help for those students as well? Do we have anything currently in place for?
So when students finish their PSAT exam, they can automatically hook up to the Khan Academy based on their score. And that's a big thing that, or based on their needs, not their score number, sorry. And that's a big thing that's automatically in place. And then we're working with curriculum in C&I to implement more SAT strategies in the school day. So in a normal English class or a math class, that you would be able to preview and have support there, not just in that Tiger time.
Khan Academy continues to be the best resource for students. It links directly to your College Board account. I've talked with many parents, and I continue to recommend a couple strategies. One, that your kids just practice taking tests, the full-blown test, and then sometimes the best way to also do that is a question or two a day. So some parents think that you need to, a kid's not going to study for an hour at a time for the SAT. They just don't want to do that. So a question a day, and that's a strategy we actually learned from our National Merit semifinalist 2 years ago, and that's what she used, just one question a day.
Thank you. Do you have
Any other questions?
It's kind of a comment question. So you guys do a phenomenal job, and it's been fun to watch the growth of this program. For some of our kids, you're going to be in those AP classes regardless, because that's just the way that life works out in terms of competition, and that's okay. But I think, and maybe you already alluded to this a little bit, but maybe starting back in the 7th grade or the 8th grade, considering coaching those students based on what colleges they're looking to go to, what sorts of scores they're going to need, and maybe reaching out to those colleges to really see how many of these courses are going to be accepted. I think it could make a difference between a kid that is going to do fine, but maybe could take a CTE course, but feels like they can't, and then they're getting to the university, and even though they have the scores, they're not getting credit for those scores. So, I mean, I don't know how you could build that in, so maybe it's a question/comment, but just something to consider.
No, I think it's a great comment, and that's some of the work that Tiffany is doing as she works with counselors. That's one of her main responsibilities, Tiffany Sommerfeld, to really work with our counselors on advising as well, so that they know how to advise students as to the route to take AP versus dual credit versus maybe just taking a course that is of interest to you, because that too is important in high school. And then we use also our goal, we want to increase the use. There's a PSAT, when they take the PSAT in 8th grade, there's kind of a predictor, and there's some AP predictors that we're looking at using to also make sure we're identifying kids well. Do you want to add to that?
Oh, College Board has a new portion of their website where you can put in your exact college you want, and it varies from college to college, and that's been really helpful, even in our senior superintendent scholar group, going through that the other day, because a lot of them have it narrowed down to A&M or UT, and it kind of depends on what you're saying, their interest and what they want. So I think a lot of people are recognizing that take as many AP classes isn't always the best. Interest matters.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you for that report. I don't need to take any action, but we certainly enjoyed the report and very informative, and had some great comments up here. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, next item on our agenda, Elizabeth is going to talk to us about elementary and middle school mascots.
Good evening. I know. I'm so glad y'all all had the same reaction. Let's just say that this, standing here at the podium getting to present on this, there was a lot of work that went in behind the scenes to build this from Josh, and lots of meetings and lots of work, but I'm glad to see all those smiles on those faces, because I'm pretty excited to say that we are under 1 year from the opening of Lake Belton High School. And as your remarks recognized, yes, after receiving feedback from the community in a variety of formats, some in grocery stores, some online, some in meetings, the school board made the decision in October of 2017. This was actually my second board meeting with you all. Made the decision that the new school would be the Broncos with the colors of red and silver. And we've gone through a lot of changes and building since then. Also, about this time last year, we convened a citizens committee to review and discuss the district's attendance boundaries in anticipation of the opening of 3 new campuses, Lake Belton High School, Belton Middle School, and Charter Oak Elementary. The board approved those new boundaries in January of 2019 in their regular meeting, and those new boundaries provide for an attendance boundary at the high school level that divides along the Leon River, with the northern middle schools attending Lake Belton High School and the middle school south of the Leon River attending Belton High School. As you all know, currently, all of our elementary and middle schools use the mascot of the tiger. As we are planning for the opening of Lake Belton High School next year, and Lake Belton High School Broncos taking the court and the fields in many different ways, we need to consider the rebranding of Lake Belton Middle School and North Belton Middle School to the Broncos, as they feed directly into Lake Belton High School in that feeder pattern. As we begin to think about the changes that might be needed for rebranding, we've taken a lot of trips to the different campuses and had a lot of conversations. As you can see from all of these images, these are just the primary tiger graphics that currently exist in Lake Belton Middle School. The LBMS text, as well as tiger eyes and school names above the entrance, and of course, the tiger displayed on the court. At North Belton Middle School, you'll see a lot of similar things, a different tiger, but graphics can be found on the entrance as well as on welcome mats, and it's also on the gym wall and on the court. In addition to rebranding of the middle school facilities, continued changes to adjust middle school uniforms from Tigers to Broncos will be needed for the fall of 2020. I must give a shout out and props to Mike Morgan and Sam Skidmore. They actually initiated separate, and before we got to this process, having conversations with junior high coaching or middle school coaching staff to order apparel that identified the campus name, not just the mascot. And so a lot of that work has already been initiated. However, there'll still be updates and apparel needed. As you can see from these photos from Lake Belton Middle School students, various student groups, cheer, football, band, and cross country, all with different examples of a Belton High School red and white color scheme and even a tiger mascot. And not to leave them out, we also have North Belton Middle School apparel that's still being used that shows the color palettes that could look like Lake Belton or also could be construed as Belton High School, as well as some tigers. By the start of the 2020 school year, we'll see new boys and girls athletic clothing, including basketball uniforms, football jerseys, pants, sweats, and track uniforms. How much does this all cost? A big question. Rebranding estimates just for the middle schools include a cost of approximately $26,095 for apparel at Lake Belton Middle School. Apparel at North Belton Middle School will cost approximately just above that at $36,834. I talked with Coach Skidmore today to ask what that was about, and he said that they have some pants, some football pants that actually have tiger stripes on them, and a couple of other things that Lake Belton Middle School has not ordered. So there you'll see a little bit of an adjustment. The gym floors, both at Lake Belton Middle School and North Belton Middle School, together we believe will cost $26,500. And then LBMS also has a scorer's table that's approximately $3,800 for our total right there of $93,229. Jennifer has included the funding in this year's budget to ensure that we are able to make these adjustments in time for the next school year. Now let's shift to elementary schools. Currently, all of our elementary schools are tigers, with the exception of Charter Oak Elementary. Because of the new school opening, and we were in the process of making these decisions or having the changes implemented, we delayed the decision to have Charter Oak Elementary select a mascot. In our elementary schools, you will see no particular pattern of branding of the tiger. There are a wide variety of graphics, and in some cases, a lack of graphics. This is fairly typical of the elementary schools in general, unless you've walked into Sparta Elementary lately. You're greeted by that tiger as soon as you walk in. Miller Heights Elementary is also featured up there, where you'll see a tiger mural that's been on their library wall for an extended period of time. And at Southwest, you'll see a large tiger painted on the wall at the very front entrance, along with Leon Heights and several others. Overall, though, the use of the tiger graphics in our elementary campuses is fairly minimal. So with the changes in mascot at the secondary level, there are several questions that we've been pondering regarding our elementary schools. Should our southern elementary schools be a tiger and our northern be a bronco? If so, how long would that actually last with the continued growth of our district? And what if the attendance boundaries you have is a tiger for elementary school and a bronco for middle school and a high school, or vice versa, and you just keep switching back? We could see that happen. So with all that in mind, in looking towards the future, we would like you to consider, and we would like to propose that every elementary school might have their own mascot. Leading up to the 2017 bond election, as a part of our roadmap to 2025 long-range planning process, district leaders researched how other districts that had recently moved from one comprehensive high school to two tackled that problem. After meeting with elementary principals and discussing a lot of what was learned during that roadmap process, we would like to propose that each elementary campus involve teachers and students in coming up with new mascots to be implemented in the fall of 2020. We would like to do this in conjunction with this fall's general election, creating a special learning opportunity for our students that engages their voice and their selection in the process. So what will this look like? The proposed mascot election process would begin in October with elementary homeroom teachers being asked to deliver the same lesson across the district in grades K through 5. Students will discuss the current use of Tigers and the changes that are coming with the addition of the Broncos, building the excitement but also reflecting on our district's history. Homeroom teachers will lead the students through discussion of school mascots, getting students to brainstorm a new mascot for their school for the fall of 2020. Each classroom will reach a consensus on a recommendation for a mascot and submit that candidate to the principal. So the rules that we've put in place. Each mascot will have red as a primary color. And then no odd or copyrighted entries, such as an emoji, or as Jacob Sanchez suggested to me, an Avenger. Take your pick, Iron Man. Unfortunately, we can't go forth with copyrighted material, right, Jacob? No elementary campuses may be a Tiger or a Bronco. Next up, principals will facilitate a diverse group of students representing all grade levels to discuss names forwarded by homerooms and reach consensus on 3 mascots to be voted on at that campus level. Principals will then meet, all elementary principals will come together and meet before Election Day as a committee to make sure no schools have the same mascots on their ballot. Campaigns for mascots will be held leading up to Election Day on November 5th. Results will be announced, and we can then begin developing the artwork for each school within my department. Funds will be allocated to take care of elementary rebranding projects in the summer of 2020. So with that, stay tuned.
Wow. So can I have a question first? Thank you. So elementary schools in BISD would have a variety of mascots, but once they feed into the middle school, depending on which one it is, they'll either be a Tiger or a Bronco.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that for me. And then, okay. Well, my comment on the different mascots, one of the unique things about Belton, as we all know, is that we're all been Tigers. We've got former Tego here, and so this is a unique opportunity to progress into the future because we have a new high school coming. That's something that's never been done before. It's hard, I know, because for those who have been here forever, like myself and others, to have always been a Tiger and to try to process that in your mind that now you're going to have other mascots. But I think we'll be okay. It's fine. Change is hard, but it's not difficult. We'll be okay. Go ahead.
I think the one thing I want the explanation about is you said there'll be funds appropriated for the elementary schools, because I was walking into the Coppers Cove game Friday night like an hour early, and 3 people came up and goes, they're going to make us change our mascot at my elementary school. And I went, oh, hey, all right, how are we going to do the night of the game?
Right.
So they were concerned because their PTA had just spent like $16,000 on something at their school. So
Correct.
What are we thinking, or is that still kind of a work in progress?
That's still a work in progress because a lot of what you do see displayed as far as the current Tiger mascot in campuses and why the inequities kind of exist is the different PTAs and the way they spend their funds. So I can tell you that we would pursue something equitable, and that's why we also, with Dr. Battershell, the conversations we've had is making sure that we develop all campuses, all elementary campuses with the same high-level graphic, the same high-level imagery and assets to be able to use. And that's what we are committed to internally, and then how it gets rolled out in every campus will obviously be equitable across the district. The partnerships with PTAs and different things like that, I think, would be a next step and a conversation that hopefully we would have with principals, and I would be happy to help be a part of those conversations once we get to the digital asset creation of the imagery.
But there is going to be some kind of communication to the principals and the teachers to let them know that
Absolutely.
as they're going through this process, the last thing they need to worry about is funding. Is that correct?
Correct.
As far as
to
the
the
mascot.
to the extent that we are, we can be equitable across the district when different PTAs or PTOs or in our campuses that don't really have an active fundraising arm, that we can support all of them.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Questions,
I
comments?
got a real quick one, and this is it's kind of a silly thing to even have to say, but I will say when we went through the mascot process before, from time to time, people, even adults, would get bogged down in the red and, the red color and the mascot being the same thing. It's like they don't need to be, that's not what your consideration is. So just kind of help the principals and the students and all that continue to remember that red and in whatever you choose is not the same as whatever mascot you choose. So they don't have to match, because tigers aren't red in real life.
Thank you, Janet. I will quote you on that. Thank you.
I'm
Agreed.
sorry, it was an issue. It was like people would get real down in that.
Yes. They are not the Belton red color that Sherwin-Williams locally calls it Belton red. They are not that color.
Belton
Correct.
red. Any other comments? Well, thank you.
Thank you
It's
all.
very well done. Very well done.
Appreciate it.
Really eager to see that. And what an opportunity for the kids to learn about the voting process. Excited about that. So the next item on our agenda is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding board policy and facility subcommittees, and Dr. Battershell is going to talk to us about that.
I've talked with each of you, and I've encouraged this for a multitude of reasons. Number one reason, it's a great educational tool for our board. Especially for new board members coming on to learn about policy, because that's your number one job besides hiring your superintendent. And so it allows that type of instruction. Second part is, during formal board meetings like this, it's really hard to have discussion back and forth. You have an audience, and there's time limits for the audience. People are nodding, and you don't want your audience to sit here until 10 o'clock at night while you discuss these things out. So it allows for another opportunity, an appropriate opportunity for discussion between staff that work with those programs or the issues at hand and the school board. The third thing that it does is it expedites your board meetings, and it expedites them in an appropriate way, because things have been very well thought out. You're going to hear things that we don't hear as administrators. We're going to know rules and laws that you don't know as board members. And so to bring everybody to the table to ferret those things out and really have really good policies and procedures and facilities works. Again, having been a superintendent for a period of time, I've tried different committees before, and they haven't particularly been successful. I'm the first to say that. But these two are, because they are the quintessential piece of what a board does. I told you about why policy is, but facilities is, because generally things in facilities are over $50,000 that you're going to have to approve anyway. And especially with this capital improvements item that we've been talking about, and getting that moving and ready to go when the new superintendent comes in, so that everything is laid out for the future, I think is so important. And then we've got a policy update coming from TASB in October, and that can go through the committee. So again, I think for the health and well-being of our school district and making sure our policies, our procedures, and our facilities are as tight as we can, I think it's just a very nice procedure. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you can rescind it at some point in time, but I do recommend it to you at this point in time.
Okay. I just want to read what the administrative recommendation is. It says that it is the board's decision, but it is recommended that these two committees would greatly expedite communication between board and staff in matters that require detailed attention and allow for more efficient and effective decision-making by all parties. If approved, board members will need to determine which committee they wish to serve on. Each committee will meet once a month with a schedule determined by committee members. Board president serves at will on either committee. And I know that we've had those discussions, and if this is something that we wish to move forward with, I'll entertain a motion to move forward as recommended by administration. Got a motion by Mr. Taggart. Is there a second? Dr. Montgomery, all approve, please raise your hand. That passes. and we'll work out the details.
Yeah, let me know. Some of you I've already heard from. If I haven't heard from you on the committee that you wish to serve on, then please let me know. And your first meeting, there won't be a chair, but once you have your first meetings, then you will need to select a board chair for each. And your board chairs will report back to the board so that the whole board hears everything all the time. So thank you so much, and I hope it works well for you.
Awesome.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Next item on our agenda, issues, concerns for future agenda or administrative reports. Anything on this end? Mr. Taggart, do you have anything? No? Nothing on this end? Nothing on this end. Okay. Then moving forward, the next item on the agenda is a student discipline appeal. Under the Texas Open Meetings Act, the hearing will be conducted in a closed session unless the student's parent or guardian requests in writing in advance that the hearing be held in open session. No such request has been received, so the board will now hear an expulsion appeal according to board policy FOD legal and to consult with the district's attorney regarding the appeal as provided for in sections 551.071 and 551.082 of the Texas Government Code. Unless you're participating in the hearing, we ask that you be excused until the meeting is called back to order in open session. I ask that you leave now unless you are involved in this hearing. It is 8:26 p.m. We're going to reconvene in open session. Is the tape recorder back on? Okay. The board is reconvening again. The time now is 8:26. Do I have a motion?
I move that the board uphold the administration's decision.
Is there a second? Mr. Norwood, we have a second by Mr. Norwood. All in favor, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously. We will uphold the administration's decision. We are currently adjourned.